Well, the first thing I would say is that I guess we've come to think that, the reason we have educational inequity is it's a function of many things working together. It's a function of the fact that the kids in low-income communities are facing huge extra challenges that kids in other communities simply aren't facing, just as a function of growing up in poverty. Largely, the kids we're serving are kids of color who face all sorts of other challenges as a function of societal discrimination, et cetera. And then they're showing up at schools and school systems that arguably have not historically had the mission and certainly don't have the resources and the capacity to take kids who face extra challenges and actually put them on a level playing field. And why do we have all of that? Because of, our policies and practices and really the prevailing ideology of our country. So as we step back and think about, okay, so how do we solve the problem? We think, well, on the one hand, we need to do a lot to take some of the pressure off of schools. If we can improve the quality of, economies in urban and rural areas and the quality of social services and health services and such, we can do a lot to make our work easier. At the same time, what the teachers I've been talking about and the school leaders are showing us is that even as our socioeconomic disparities persist, it's within our power as a society to build the capacity within our schools and school systems to actually take kids who face extra challenges and truly put them on a level playing field. And I guess what we've come to see over time is that, as I said before, there's nothing magical or elusive about it, right? Like if you go into one of these very high-performing schools and ask the person running the school, what's going on here? How are you all? I mean, I think about a guy named Chris Barbick who has started a now collection of schools in Houston, Texas. 7% of the kids in this low-income community in Houston actually graduate from college, and the kids who go to Chris's middle school, which turns into a high school, 90% of them graduate from college. So you just think, okay, there's something different going on in this school. What is it? And if you asked Chris, he would say, nothing magical, and you think, what? But no, it's true. There is a school leader who deeply knows that the kids he's working with have every bit as much potential as the kids in, River Oaks, which is the kind of wealthier community in Houston, and absolutely could graduate from college and have a world of opportunities open to them. He has attracted teachers at every level of his school who deeply believe the same thing and are willing to do whatever it takes to ensure that their kids fulfill that potential. He's built an incredibly powerful culture in his school, a culture of achievement, which aligns the kids and their families and the teachers as well around this goal that we're going to do whatever it takes to graduate from college and have real choices in life. And the school itself is just committed to achieving that end and to the continuous improvement it would take to get there. I mean, it's like all the basics, and I guess I think that's an important recognition that the same thing that accounts for success really in any sector is what accounts for success in education. And so what we need is, the same kind of investment in talent development at every level of the system, in technology systems, in all the things that our highest performing corporations are investing in. So I guess those are the things that would shape my policy recommendations. I think it's important that as a nation we continue to commit ourselves to attaining measurable progress in closing achievement gaps. So, this kind of accountability framework that was initially implemented within No Child Left Behind, this federal law, we would say is critical. We would say, in fact, we need to make greater investments in ensuring that we have very rigorous standards and very helpful, useful, meaningful assessments so that we can put, in the hands of our teachers and our kids actually as well, and the kids' parents, a real understanding of where they are against the standards that all kids should meet and should have the opportunity to meet. So we would say that providing that framework is really important. And then I think the question is, what can we do at the federal level to inspire the level of local leadership and local initiative and local capacity necessary to really meet rigorous standards? I personally think there's only so much we can do from the federal level, but I do think we can set up a set of sort of policies that lead folks at the local level who are aspiring to this to have more resources at their disposal. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think there's a tendency to think that we can almost micromanage things a bit from the federal level, and as much as we would all like to be able to do that, I think if anything, we've seen real evidence in the last 8 years since No Child Left Behind was implemented that, a federal mandate can only accomplish so much. Ultimately, this is about local leadership and initiative. We're excited to have, first of all, I would say we'd be excited by anyone President-elect Obama, appointed as our education secretary. We've worked closely with Arne Duncan in Chicago and have watched him, work to, improve educational opportunity for kids there, and really have a wonderful working relationship with him and believe in what he does and are looking forward to working with him as I think, he comes at this from a perspective that, we know what works now in our urban areas, and we need to come together across ideological lines and commit ourselves to scaling what works. And we're just really excited to work with him in that pursuit. All of these proposals around teacher compensation come down to, the details. But what I would say is that we need to have within our education system a talent mindset, meaning we should be obsessed at every level of the system with how do we attract extremely talented and committed people, how do we develop them over time, how do we keep them in the system. We should be obsessed around that, and that should drive so much in terms of how we recruit, how we select teachers, what we invest in training and development of teachers and principals and school administrators over time. And it should certainly influence the way we think about teacher compensation and educator compensation in general.